Please help us honor him now as we give a 10-bell salute to Terry Bollea, the one and the only, the immortal Hulk Hogan.
You could feel the emotion like a wave crashing over the WWE universe that night. It wasn't just another show. It wasn't just another tribute. It was a moment that felt bigger than wrestling itself, a night dedicated to honoring the legend, the icon, the man the world knew as Hulk Hogan. The arena buzzed with electricity. You could sense it in the air, a mix of excitement, respect, and sadness. Fans filled the seats wearing his red and yellow colors, some holding up handmade signs, others wearing shirts from his glory days. Every chant of Hogan, Hogan, echoed through the building like thunder. But the moment that truly touched everyone didn't come from the matches or the speeches by fellow wrestlers.
Thank you for being with me, for riding the highs and surviving the lows. Their loyalty is unwavering. They just know who I am, and they actually know I'm a human.
It came from his son Dot. It was a rare public appearance, and it carried the weight of a lifetime. His son stepped into the spotlight, not to wrestle, but to speak from the heart. His voice was steady, but carried a tremble, the kind that comes when pride and pain mix together. He wasn't just talking about Hulk Hogan, the superstar. He was talking about the man he knew away from the cameras. This wasn't just a timeline of career highlights. It was a deeply personal reflection. It was about how one man could define an era, change a sport, and still be a father trying to hold his family together. From the roaring days of Hulkamania in the 1980s to the more difficult and controversial moments later in life, his story was bigger than wrestling. It was a story of fame, reinvention, mistakes, and comebacks. The big screens played clips, Hogan body slamming giants, posing for screaming crowds, waving the American flag. But the focus wasn't on the wins or the titles. It was on the man behind the mustache. His son looked out at the thousands in the arena and said something that stopped everyone cold. I shared him with the world. But to me, he was just Dad. It was raw, it was vulnerable, and it was real. He didn't pretend his father was perfect. He didn't hide from the scandals, the legal battles, or the personal struggles. He acknowledged them openly, but he balanced those truths with memories that only a son could tell. Sunday morning breakfast, whispered advice during long drives, and quiet moments that had nothing to do with fame or wrestling. For many fans, this was the first time they'd seen Hulk Hogan as more than a superhero from their childhood. They saw a father, a husband, a man who stumbled but refused to stay down. Throughout the night, wrestlers from different eras came forward to share their own experiences. Roman Reigns talked about watching old VHS tapes of Hulkamania with his cousins. John Cena said, Hogan set the standard for what it means to be larger than life. Ric Flair and Stone Cold Steve Austin both acknowledged that, while they had disagreements in the past, they couldn't deny the impact Hogan had on wrestling. But as touching as those words were, the most powerful moments still belonged to his son. He reminded everyone that a legacy isn't just built under bright lights. It's carried in the everyday moments nobody sees. Conversations at the dinner table, long hugs after a hard day, and promises kept in private. He wasn't perfect, none of us are, but he never gave up. Not on wrestling, not on himself, not on us. That line hit the audience like a finishing move. It summed up Hulk Hogan better than any promo or interview ever could. He was a man of resilience, someone who faced both triumph and turmoil, but always found a way to keep going. For younger fans who only knew him from YouTube highlights, this was a new side of the legend. For older fans, it was a reminder of the man behind the character they grew up idolizing. When the tribute came to a close, it didn't end with pyrotechnics or a roar. Instead, his son simply said, "Thank you, Dad." Those words echoed through the arena before the familiar guitar RIFF of Real American hit? The crowd exploded, not just for the performer they cheered for decades, but for the human being they now understood more deeply. This was more than a WWE moment. It was a human moment, the kind that lingers in your heart the days after. Tribute didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. A few days later, Hogan's son sat down for an exclusive WWE Network interview. There was no script, no pre-approved questions. It was just a son talking about his father. He spoke about the strange mix of pride and pressure that came with growing up as the child of one of the most famous wrestlers in history. "You're proud of your dad," he said softly, "but sometimes you wish he could just be yours, not belong to everyone else." He opened up about the challenges of living in the public eye, the constant tabloid attention, the reality TV years, the scandals, and the courtroom drama. Through it all, he said, Hogan never stopped trying to be there for his family. Were there failures? Yes. Arguments? Absolutely. Times when they didn't speak, he admitted it. But there were also moments no one knew about. Late-night phone calls, handwritten notes, and unplanned road trips where father and son tried to rebuild their connection, not with grand gestures, but with simple time spent together. Wrestling, his son explained, was both a bridge and a barrier. It gave them a shared passion, but sometimes it replaced real conversations. "We talked in promos," he joked, smiling, "even at home, but there were lighter memories too. Hogan wearing flip-flops while grilling burgers, chasing the dog for chewing his boots, telling dad jokes so bad they made everyone groan." The documentary mixed these stories with rare home videos. Hogan, teaching his son to swim, birthday parties with wrestling-themed cakes, and quiet family moments where the immortal looked completely ordinary. The producers didn't try to make him flawless or focus only on his mistakes. They showed the whole man, and in doing so, they gave fans something even better than nostalgia. They gave them understanding. Fans respond after the tribute aired. WWE invited fans to share their own memories of Hogan. The response was overwhelming. One man, now a firefighter, said it was Hogan's message of never give up that kept him going through training. Another shared that hearing Real American during a dark period in his life gave him the motivation to keep fighting depression. Parents wrote in about watching Hogan matches with their kids, bridging generations through a shared hero. Backstage, current superstars spoke about the impact Hogan had on their own careers. Cody Rhodes mentioned how his father, Dusty Rhodes, respected Hogan's unique ability to connect with fans. Bianca Belair credited his charisma for shaping the spectacle of modern wrestling. Triple H summed it up best. "Without Hogan, there is no WrestleMania, there is no global WWE. He made wrestling a household name. More than a career." As the tribute week ended, a final video message from Hogan's son played across all WWE platforms. "He didn't always get it right, but he always tried, and that's enough for me." Those simple, honest words stuck with people. The world had known Hulk Hogan as a larger-than-life figure. His son knew him as a man. Imperfect, flawed, but always trying. Through his voice, the audience got to see both. Hulk Hogan's legacy now lives not just in wrestling rings, but in living rooms, family stories, and the lessons passed down to children who learn that even heroes have flaws, and even flawed men can leave behind greatness. Because sometimes, the greatest tribute isn't the loudest cheer or the biggest match. It's in the quiet words of love between a father and a son. And somewhere, far away from the spotlight, maybe Hulk Hogan heard those words and quietly replied, "I love you too, brother." The tribute may have ended, but the story lives on. As long as people remember, as long as the red and yellow still light up arenas, as long as some kid somewhere cups their ear and pretends to drop a leg in front of a mirror, Hulkamania will never die. It will live in chants, in memories, and in every person who carries that name with pride. Being immortal and about never fading away. It's about becoming part of something bigger than yourself. Hulk Hogan's legacy is now etched in the hearts of those who saw the man beyond the muscles. And that legacy, it's only getting stronger.